The car was a steel cocoon at the forest's edge, moonlight slicing through the windshield, casting jagged shadows across the dashboard. We were stranded, the engine dead, waiting for a tow, just me and my husband's friend Cole, a mechanic whose hands gripped the steering wheel with a restless hunger that set my nerves alight. The night was alive with crickets and wind, and when Cole leaned closer, his presence, broad, unsteady, trembled deep into my core. I still let him in, letting the forest swallow us whole. I was 32, married to Nathan, a man whose love was steady but faint, like a lantern running low. Cole was different, rugged, intense, with hands that fiddled with tools with raw precision, and eyes that burned with unspoken want. His denim jacket, worn and tight, clung to his muscled frame, the moonlight tracing his sharp jaw. My top, a fitted navy blouse tucked into jeans, hugged my curves, catching the pale light, and his gaze lingered, slow, deliberate, waking a hunger I'd buried deep. My wedding ring glinted, a faint protest, but it couldn't dim the fire rising in my chest. The forest was a dark hum beyond the car's windows, its pulse drowning out the city, replaced by the chirp of insects and the creak of branches. Cole sat in the driver's seat, his movements sharp, almost anxious, but his eyes were wild, untamed. I sat beside him, my jeans brushing my thighs, revealing a hint of skin as I shifted, and his gaze followed, dark, possessive, stirring something reckless. I should have stayed calm, focused on the tow truck when Nathan's voice was still clear in my mind. But I stayed, and the night grew thicker, heavier. He offered me his jacket, warm from his body, the denim rough against my fingers. "Stay warm," he said, his voice low, gritty, like the rustle of leaves. I took the jacket, our fingers brushing a spark that shot through me, settling low, aching, unbearable. The denim was heavy, but it was nothing compared to the fire in my veins, the want that grew with every glance. My blouse clung to my skin, teasing my curves, and his eyes caught it, darkening with a desire that made my knees weak. The moonlight flickered through the trees, casting shadows that danced across his face, rough and magnetic. My heart pounded a rhythm that matched the pulse of desire running through me. Cole's gaze was a weight pressing against me, and I felt it, every inch of me alive, craving, screaming for something I shouldn't. "Check the light," he said, handing me a flashlight. His voice a soft command, like he was fixing more than the car. I could have opened the door, stepped into the cold, but my body leaned toward him, my skin begging for his touch, his heat. The car was a world apart, the forest forgotten. His hand hovered near my arm, so close I could feel its warmth, but he held back, waiting. "Shine it steady," he said, his eyes locking on mine, urging me to focus, to surrender. The guilt was there, Nathan's face flashing in my mind, a smile as we drove through the countryside. But the want was ablaze, drowning out everything else. I gripped the flashlight, my breath shallow, my body trembling with the weight of what I was doing. The night was a shadow, and I was already lost in it. The car felt smaller now, the shadows tightening as the moonlight bathed us in a pale silver glow. Cole's jacket was slung over my shoulders, the denim heavy, outlining the broad muscles that flexed as he fiddled with a wrench. My blouse was a traitor, hugging my curves, the fabric warm with the car's trapped heat, my skin prickling under his gaze. The flashlight sat heavy in my hand, but it was his presence that made me dizzy, drunk on the promise of his touch. The forest's hum was gone, replaced by the faint creak of the car's frame, a sound that vibrated through me like a pulse. "You're calm under pressure," he said, his voice rough, like he was tuning more than the engine. But he didn't move, his body a magnet pulling me closer. I thought of Nathan, his gentle hands, His quiet love, the life we'd built, a routine of shared drives, predictable as a straight road. But Cole's presence was a dark trail, raw, untamed, filling the empty spaces Nathan never could. My fingers twitched, aching to touch him, to feel the heat of his skin, the rhythm of his desire. The guilt was a sharp gust stinging, but it only made the ache deeper, more desperate. The moonlight pulsed through the trees, casting shadows that seemed to sway with my heart. My jeans shifted, teasing my thighs, my breasts outlined by the tight blouse, and I felt exposed, alive, wanted in a way I hadn't been in years. Cole leaned closer, his body so near I could smell the earth on his skin, mixed with the scent of leather and want. His fingers brushed my hand as he took the flashlight, a fleeting touch that sent a shiver through me, my body leaning toward him without permission. "Point it here," he said, his voice a low growl, urging me to aim more than the beam. My hands moved over the flashlight, its surface cool and smooth, a wordless plea my body couldn't hide. The guilt was a scream, Nathan's voice echoing his laugh as we parked by a lake. But it was no match for the fire in my veins, the need that consumed me. I thought of Nathan, his face soft in sleep, but Cole's touch was real, burning, pulling me under. My fingers trembled, brushing his arm, an instinct I couldn't control, the blouse whispering against my skin, betraying my desire. His eyes darkened, locking on mine, a silent command to surrender. The car was a cocoon now, shutting out the world. His hand slid to my shoulder, light but deliberate, and I gasped, the sound swallowed by the forest's hum. The guilt was there, Nathan's trust, a ghost in my mind, but Cole's hands were real, promising a pleasure I'd forgotten existed. I leaned closer, my breasts brushing his arm, the contact sending a jolt through me that settled low, aching, unbearable. The moonlight danced across his face, making him look like a mechanic steering my ruin. "Hold it close," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear, sending a shiver through me that made my thighs clench. I couldn't hold back. My skin was on fire, my body trembling with need, my heart pounding like the wind. My hands found his wrist, feeling the heat through his sleeve, the rapid beat of his pulse. I was drowning in it, in him, in the reckless thrill of being wanted this way. The car was a trap, and I was already locked in. The car was a crucible now, the moonlight forging something dangerous between us. Cole's hands were on me, steady, possessive, guiding my fingers along the flashlight, as if he were tuning my soul. The glow was faint, but searing, highlighting every curve of my blouse, my skin prickling under his gaze. His touch was deliberate, each movement, a spark in a circuit I couldn't resist, and I followed willingly, recklessly. My body was alive, every nerve singing, my thighs trembling as they brushed against the seat, inviting him closer. His fingers slid higher, brushing the bare skin of my neck beneath my blouse, and I moaned, the sound soft, desperate, swallowed by the car's hush. My body arched toward him, craving the contact, the sin. The guilt was a jagged branch cutting through me, but it only made the desire sharper, more urgent. His lips grazed my temple, a slow, burning trail that made my head spin, my hands gripping his shoulders, nails digging into his jacket. The shadows danced, mirroring the chaos inside me, every movement a confession. "Keep it steady," he murmured, his voice rough with need, his breath hot against my cheek, urging me to sink deeper into the moment. But I couldn't pull back, wouldn't pull back. The moonlight caught the sheen of sweat on his skin, making him look like a man repairing my ruin. My hands slid down his chest, feeling the broad muscle beneath his jacket, the rapid beat of his heart matching mine. My jeans clung tighter, outlining every curve, and his eyes followed dark and unyielding, drinking in every inch of me. His hand moved higher, tracing the curve of my ribcage through my blouse, his fingers brushing just beneath my breast, and I gasped, my body shuddering under his touch. The car was a haze, the world reduced to the space between us, to the heat of his hands, the rhythm of my breath. I thought of Nathan, his quiet love, his trust, his hand on mine as we drove at dusk. But the thought was fleeting, swept away by the storm of desire. Every touch was a gear in a machine of surrender, and I shifted it willingly, chasing the fire, the danger, the ecstasy. His lips brushed my jaw, his breath ragged, and I tilted my head back, offering more, offering everything. My body trembled, caught between guilt and need, but the need was a tidal wave crashing over me, drowning out everything else. His hand slid lower, guiding my hips closer, and I moaned loud now, the sound mingling with the cricket's hum. I was his, and he knew it, his touch driving me in ways I'd never be clean of. Then it came, a distant rumble of tires, the tow truck's lights piercing the dark, breaking the spell, and with it reality. Nathan's face flashed in my mind, clear and accusing, his trust a weight I couldn't ignore. I pushed against Cole's chest, my hands shaking, my breath ragged. He leaned back, his eyes dark with hunger and something like regret, but it was too late. The line had been crossed, even if we hadn't gone all the way. I was marked, branded by his touch, and I'd never be the same. I stumbled out of the car, my legs unsteady, my blouse still clinging to me like a confession. The moonlight was dim now, but it couldn't hide the heat still burning inside me. I grabbed my bag, my fingers fumbling, and stepped into the cold, the forest air hitting me like a slap. The drive home with the tow truck was a blur of headlights and guilt, my heart pounding with what I'd done, what I'd almost done. Nathan was asleep when I got home, his face soft in the lamplight, peaceful, trusting. I stood over him, watching his chest rise and fall, the guilt twisting like a knife in my gut. The days that followed were a fog of want and shame. I went through the motions, cooking dinner, kissing Nathan goodnight, but my mind was back in that car, back with Cole's hands, his eyes, his heat. I saw him again at a gas station, his gaze catching mine across the pumps. We didn't speak, but we didn't need to. The air between us was charged, a silent promise of what could have been, what still might be. I told myself I'd stay away, that I'd be good. But every night as Nathan slept beside me, I lay awake, my body burning with the memory of a touch that wasn't his, a night that changed everything. The guilt was a living thing now clawing at me, but so was the desire, a shadow that wouldn't fade. Cole was just a friend, a man who'd fixed a car, but he'd sparked something in me I couldn't douse. I'd stopped short of the edge, but I'd gone far enough to know I'd never be whole. The car, the forest, his hands, they were branded into me, a mark I'd carry forever. If this story set your heart racing, smash that like button. If you think I'm a fool for staying in the car, hit dislike, I deserve it. Drop a comment, what would you do in my place? Subscribe for more stories that cut deep, share this with someone who needs to feel the fire, and check out the next one. The truth is raw, messy, and worth it. Catch you soon.